Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Welcome to our live stream on April 20th, 2023. We're just double checking if we're live. Just double check. I know we're live on Facebook. We're just waiting for confirmation from YouTube before we can start, making sure we're okay there. I need a validation from somebody on YouTube. Hold on one second, folks. Hold on. Yeah, for some reason YouTube is not showing. Okay, hold on, folks. Sorry for the technical glitch here. Can anyone see me or hear me on YouTube? Okay, great. Thank you, Julie Minka. Okay, great. Okay, today we're talking about, so we're live on Facebook and YouTube. Great. Today we're talking about startup visa costs. It is a live session, so no editing, as you can see in the middle. If there's a technical problem, we're going to be stuck. And we will be looking at the YouTube comments and questions afterwards. No matter what it's about, we will attempt to answer your questions and if there's any comments. Okay? So here's the question for today's subject. Can you find the true cost of a Canadian startup visa anywhere online? It's difficult and very blurred. That's because the startup visa world has a lot of secrets, as you may know or not know. And today we're going to expose the not so hidden costs of SUV and the more hidden costs of the startup visa program in the layers and layers of agencies and designated organizations. As usual, you can expect the raw truth and nothing but the truth in this video. So help me, the Minister of Immigration. Hold on one second, folks. I gotta take care of something. I'll be back. Okay, we're back, and that's what we mean by the raw truth and no editing. Literally halfway through, we gotta get up and do other stuff. Okay, here we go, folks. Here's a quick intro if you don't know me. My name is Rez. I work with the Canadian immigration from Ingwe Immigration in Toronto, helping applicants move to Canada. Whether anywhere across Canada, we do help clients, whether it's for yourself, your kids, businesses, or all of the above. We do make it happen. And of course, we give you the option, right? We assess your profile and we give you multiple options and then you decide. We don't make the decision for you. You're in control and you're in the decision-making position to decide which program if you choose to proceed with Canadian immigration. And that's what differentiates us from other firms. I'm not an actual full-time YouTuber, but I work hands-on with our licensed team, working on actual applications and communicating with immigration departments and overseas embassies, representing our clients on a daily basis. These videos are made for the purpose of sharing our hands-on immigration knowledge with our worldwide audience. And if you're thinking about immigrating to Canada, well, we're here to help. Get a free email assessment by filling out the form below this video after it's posted, for eligible applicants, and reach out to us directly in case you're an active immigration practitioner who is seeking assistance on their files. So let's get to it here. There are two types of startup visa groups: the real startups and the concept startups. And what's the difference between these two groups, right? Real startups have something real to sell and were initially created or found for the purpose of having a successful product or solution to make money and grow. That was their priority. The original goal was not to immigrate to Canada. They all have a ready product or solution, and most of them have early onboarding customers, and some even have revenues. In some cases, for real startups, they may not have either, but have external investors, whether private or institutional, which are sold on their concept and have injected investment into the startup to succeed and grow, believing there is potential for them to become a unicorn in the startup world. And then the second type, after which we'll cover all the costs and expenses, are concept startups, which are created for the purposes of immigration. I know many stakeholders in the industry don't want to hear this exposed in the public forums, but these concept startups are created for the sole purpose of Canadian immigration. Nobody's really interested to continue these types of startups after the immigration process is completed, which means obtaining your approved Canadian PR or permanent residency. These concept startups try to develop a product or solution, and in most situations, for the sake of immigration purposes, have an MVP or a minimum viable product. Many successful concept startups will invest money as co-founders to get some traction in marketing, media coverage, product development, research, collaboration, channel partners, and so forth. In some cases, they may even look like they have some customers or collaboration partners. Basically, they will do anything and everything to become successful in their immigration path to Canada. Making money or growing this business after the IRCC approves them for PR is not high on their agenda. Then we've got these two groups. Then you have the investor applicants. They're not a startup visa group themselves, but fall into either of these two types of startup groups, which we just covered. In 90% of cases, investors who want to take a passive route to Canada will join a concept startup visa group, and their funds will be used to bankroll the product solution development and covering some of the expenses, such as the designated organizations for the real founders. The most successful concept startup visa groups have real founders, at least one, who are quite committed to the startup and will do most of the grunt work in terms of development and so forth. 99% of the time, they don't really continue with the startup after the IRCC confirms the final permanent residency for the group members. And they typically just get a high-paying job in Canada if they're lucky enough. As you know, it's difficult to be a successful startup. 95% of startups fail in the real world. I'm not talking about the immigration world here. Now, here's a breakdown of the Canadian startup visa costs. Not all groups will incur all these costs, but I will outline them for each category and what you can expect depending on your type of startup profile, nationality, and the category that you're applying under. For startup visas concept groups or investors, there's a fee to join a group, almost like an entry fee. It's sometimes called pay to play. If you do not know the real founders from before, such as family or friends, you can expect to pay anywhere from $75,000 to $250,000 Canadian dollars. Yes, you heard me right. Depending on your nationality, your region of residence, and your background as an investor who wants to join a group, this is what you can expect to be paying to join a ready and eligible startup visa group. Obviously, they don't take everything up front, but are paid in milestones. Real startup founders who have their own startup do not pay these fees, obviously. The next step is to pay the agency and or the business consultant who will prepare the group, or as we call it in the industry, assemble the startup group to process the admission and letter of support through one of the IRCC startup visa designated organizations. There's over 76 designated organizations on the IRCC website, depending on when you check, as they're always adding and removing these organizations from their website. The trick is to know which ones to work with and which ones to avoid. In some situations, the investor payments or entry fee to join a group will cover these third-party agency or business consulting fees for the admission letter and the letter of support. For real startups, sometimes they do pay these fees if their startup concept is not really innovative yet, so they need outside help to package their business successfully for their designated organization. And in some cases, the real startups pay business consultants to get them entry into low-cost designated organizations, which would be a win-win for them as well. Even considering the business consultant fees can be arranged from $15,000 to $35,000. This following expense is something nobody can avoid, namely the fees to the designated organizations that they charge for the startup visa group. Whether it's a venture capital, angel investor, or business incubator, 99% of them have a fee to cover their expenses to run these programs. You can expect anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000 for a real startup group fee for admission into these programs, and $25,000 to $90,000 for concept startups in most cases, as the fee the startup group is charged for the whole group, not per person. They need to pay these directly to the designated organizations. These fees can be split between the co-founders, of course, unless you're a single founder, when you cover all the costs. There are a few designated organizations which offer a no-fee admission to their accelerator program if you have enough revenues, let's say $100,000 or sometimes even much higher, and are innovative enough to become part of their portfolio. They will take equity in return to endorsing you, admitting you to their program, and if you successfully go through their program, issuing a letter of support, which is their endorsement for which you need to for immigration purposes to apply for your PR and work permit to Canada. Each designated organization's processing can take anywhere from 90 days to issue the letter of support to even 6 months in case they have a special accelerator program that you need to attend before they finally approve you and endorse you. The next expense would be the investment into the startup business. No matter if you're a real startup or a concept startup visa group, you need to run your business successfully. You have to be proactive and keep good traction to prove to IRCC that this is a real startup in order to obtain your final Canadian permanent residency. Real startups need to pay out of pocket unless they've assembled investors into their group. Concept startups have to pay out of pocket for the investors' co-founders, right? In the higher range of prices, if anyone's paying $200,000 or more, these prices typically include the investment share of the co-founder in the business. This is a crucial expense that nobody should underestimate and always plan for. Since IRCC does not like startup groups which don't do anything and are just waiting around for Canadian PR, which I call sitting ducks, and will most likely be on the IRCC hit list. Because as we all know, or not know, IRCC will not approve 100% of all startup visa groups for immigration purposes. That's a given fact. The approval rate hovers around 65%. So they will pick and approve the least worst groups to become Canadian residents. Yes, you heard me right. The least worst startup visa group. And most of it is dependent on the human capital as well, besides the traction and development you've done for your business in terms of success of the product or solution. The human capital factor means how strong are the profiles of the co-founders in terms of academics or professional work experience and or entrepreneurship. The final cost that every single applicant in a startup visa group needs to account for is the IRCC application fees, which are $2,140 for the principal applicant or co-founders, as we call them, and the partners and spouses of these co-founders end up paying $1,365 for their PR fees. And dependent and eligible children under the age of 22 will be paying $230. And remember, they should not be married, should not be independent, working or living apart. And they should be under the age of 22 to be dependent. Biometrics are paid for over ages 14 and over, $85 per adult or anyone else. Or as a family, you can just pay $170 and apply together for all of your biometrics. For work permits, which are optional and not mandatory under the startup visa program, expect to pay $155 per co-founder plus the employer compliance fee in order to apply for your work permit. In addition to each dependent's family member, such as a $255 for an open work permit for your spouse or common law partner, and $100 or $150 depending on your dependent's child age to attend school or not. Remember that only essential members as per the letter of support can apply for a work permit. Non-essential members, as outlined in your commitment certificate or maybe you just have the letter of support, do not have the option to apply for startup visa work permit if they're considered non-essential. As a real startup, your costs are still decent and competitive, especially if you're a single founder. And you should know which designated organization to apply to in order to avoid very high costs. As a startup visa investor, expect to pay the different fees on which region or nationality you're from and what type of startup group you're joining. The key for success is to join a group which will be successful and have eligible applicants as per the IRCC requirements and regulations and their internal policies and practices, of which some of them are not typically published. And as a quick reminder and refresher for everyone listening, dependents such as spouse or common law partners or children do not need any language proficiency, proof of experience or work, or minimum net worth or settlement funds. It's all the principal applicant or the co-founders have to meet these requirements that I just mentioned, not the spouse, partner, or children of the co-founders. Another expense that you may have to account for is if you hire an immigration firm. Different immigration firms charge different fees for specifically the PR fee, applying for your permanent residence. Or maybe you hire one just to do your work permit, or you hire one to do both. You have your letter of support, or maybe the agency or business consultant has done it, but you do need advice for immigration purposes. Some immigration firms charge anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 and even higher or lower, depending on what kind of immigration firms they are, depending on whether you're doing a work permit, a PR, combination of both, and the family size as well, because more family, more paperwork. That's an option to hire an immigration firm, and it's not, of course, mandatory. Some people choose to do so, and some people choose to apply on themselves. Absolutely makes no difference. It's kind of like filing your own taxes or doing heart surgery on your own heart. You can do it. Of course you can. We have a slew of videos on our YouTube channel about Startup Visa program in case you're interested to browse around and learn more if you're new to the industry. We also have an upcoming webinar on April 27th, 2023 at 8:30 a.m. North America Eastern Standard Time, which is the local time in Toronto, for example, where we will be co-hosting with a designated organization representing venture capital, angel investor, and an incubator, and a business consultant discussing what to look for when admitting startup groups and key mistakes to avoid. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to be notified about upcoming videos and live events. And don't subscribe if you don't want to keep tabs on what's happening in the Canadian immigration world or the startup world. And of course, if you're thinking about immigrating, whether permanently or temporarily, you're at the right place. I can guarantee you only one point. You will know what to expect. The entire process is clearly laid out for you, and all the risks identified, including costs. Our legal agreements are based on payment milestones, which are linked directly to your application progression. We do not take 100% advance payment for your Canadian business immigration applications. And if you're looking for discounts, look no further. I know of a great online website that offers great discounts on millions of items every day, like Amazon. But if you're looking for results in immigration plans, that's our expertise. No surprises, no promotions, just results. We have a $1 million liability insurance which protects you and us from mistakes or fraud, as well as a dedicated client trust account with our Canadian bank where we hold your funds before we actually start working on it, and we're not allowed to touch it till we've completed specific milestones for your application. And that account has the insurance as well. Our team speaks over 9 languages, and we help applicants from over 49 different countries during the immigration process. And this list is growing every day. Click the link below this video after it's posted and get a free email assessment for eligible applicants. And if you're ready to apply, you want a one-on-one consultation with me or any of my licensed immigration team members at Ingwe, you can also book a session directly using the consultation link, which is going to be posted below this video as well. And if you have questions, remember, we're here live every week, Thursdays at 11 a.m. North America Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, Facebook, and typically on Instagram, except today, where we answer all of your Canadian immigration questions and comments for free on the spot. We dedicate this 1 hour for our worldwide audience. Okay? We're here every week, and yes, we are in our live right now. And as I said, it's raw, there's no editing, there's nothing. And we're gonna look at the questions today. Let me see. For some reason, I can't see a lot of questions, but it's, again, we're facing a lot of technical issues today. So we've got Nasreen Ibrahimi Rosita. She says, hola, buena suerte. Yes, hola back to you, Rosita. Julie Minka confirmed to me that I'm live. Bhupinder, good morning. Well, good evening to you, Bhupinder. You've tuned in. You're like our regular audience member. You should be getting a gold medal, like a subscription, like premium membership. Thank you for confirmation. Badir Karim, yes. Yeah, everyone's kind of confirming that I am live. For some reason, I cannot see all the questions today, which is kind of weird, but that's okay. I'm going to be doing that. Okay, Leonardo Banibanai says, how to get an LMI for a job? The agency, is it the agency? Thanks. Well, the LMI should be initiated by the employer, and if they want to hire a foreign worker. And if they're approved for an LMI, they can hire a foreigner, right? But you cannot apply for an LMI yourself. Hayat Khan confirming. Muntasir Mustafa, hello. Fortunately, I am unable to see all the questions, so I'm gonna try to go on my phone and see if I can see all the questions. We're having some technical question issues here today. Hold on, folks. Foreigner, right? Okay, yeah. Okay, here we go. I think I see questions. That's good. That's good. Malik Shamim Khan, with 33 months processing, how can businesses show progress and traction, bring outside Canada to ensure acceptance? Malik, that is an excellent question. You hit the nail on the head, because that's what most startups are struggling with, at least the real ones. They're saying that, hey, you're keeping us out, you're not approving us, how can we show traction, how can we succeed according to IRCC? So here's the good news. It's getting lower than 33 months. It was 33 months. Right now, we're seeing that new SUVs are being processed within a year and a half to about a year and, let's say, 8 months, 10 months, okay? That means their files are being reviewed by IRCC offices around that time. So that's the first good news. So 33 months was the previous processing times that are not being updated on the IRCC website, and I believe it'll take till the end of this year or next year to update the IRCC website, because it's all historical data, okay? But what we're seeing in real life is that that number is dropping. Second, they say, okay, you can come inside Canada on a work permit, right? And develop your business locally. So, it doesn't mean that you need a PR before being successful in Canada. You can come in on a work permit if you want, or you can continue to grow your startup overseas. So that's how it works. That's the logic behind it. And they do not expect you to stop working till you get a PR, because no business actually pauses and waits for something and then continues. Businesses are always ongoing, as you know, right? So you can develop and grow your business overseas, and if it looks legitimate, why not? And you can even apply for work permit and come inside Canada with your family, if you like, or alone, and develop the business locally. Either yourself, your co-founders, or all of you. So that's the logic behind it. Muntasir Mustafa says, good morning, Raza. Muntasir Mustafa, good morning back to you. We finally received an acknowledgement of our residency and UCI number from IRCC last month after submitting the PR application last year, May 2022 under the SU. Wow. Supported by an angel investor. Wow. That took a while. That took a year. Did you apply online or offline, Muntasir? Like a paper application? Because paper ones were quick. Online, we've seen lately that they're taking about 5-6 months to issue a temporary file number even. Oh, but you got a permanent file number? But yeah, confirm to me. Did you get a file number that starts with X or a file number that starts with E, Montasser? I'd like to know that, okay? Badir Karim, could you give us an average price for your startup visa services? Badir, it depends on what you're looking for. We do work with business consultants that help startups kind of develop themselves, get them ready for admission to desert. We handle the immigration side of things. We do have relationships with designated organization. It really depends. Are you looking for a work permit, a PR? Are you looking to join a group? Are you looking for admission? We can introduce you to our business consultants, right? We are an immigration firm, but we have the network of all the service providers to get you into the startup visa space. That's how we work, okay? You can send us a message if you like, and we can give you a custom quote depending on your eligibility. Montasser Mustafa, we are done with biometrics this month. We have a good business traction, build prototypes and other that we're now reporting to IRCC on a business product. Excellent. When do you think we can expect a decision based on some recent SUV case scenarios? Submitted online last May. Holy moly, it took a year to get a file. Are you talking about the temporary file number, Montasser? So does it start with an X or does it start with an E? The E means it's a permanent file number. That means a real human being, an IRCC officer, there's a shortage of those these days if you haven't heard, is actually opened up your file. If you get the temporary file number X, it means the system has generated it. IRCC is just confirming we've received it. It's in a depository somewhere, some archive waiting for their officers. And a lot of them are on strike these days, if you haven't heard, to do that. So, Montez, if you give me some idea about that, I can give you approximately when I think they will actually make a decision on your startup case. Badir Karim, no discount for your startup visa support. Yeah, but no worries. Just reach out to us depending on what you need, how to structure it. We can put you in touch with the right people. That's what we do, right? We do immigration and then we put people in touch with the right people. Montasser Mustafa, submit online. Sabri 7. Hi, dear Reza. Does a student apply inside Canada for PGW while the process or after the result to exit and enter Canada will need a visitor visa? Yes, Sabri. Okay. Let's say a student has graduated successfully from an eligible program for a postgraduate work permit, and they've maintained their status during this time. They can apply for a postgraduate work permit, as you said, and they're inside Canada in your scenario, or the person you're asking for. And they're waiting for the postgraduate work permit, and they exit and they want to re-enter. So this is how it works. A visa is always required to re-enter Canada. A postgraduate work permit application, even a study permit, they are not visas to enter Canada, okay? So if the person has a valid visa in their passport long enough to return, they can return. They are not allowed to work when they return until and unless the PGWP is approved and in their hand, physical or at least a copy. This means that they will lose maintained status. Okay, so that means that during that time, usually when they apply for PGW, they can continue to work full time. And they can count that as Canadian work experience for programs such as Express Entry. But if they leave and come back later until the PGW is issued, they will lose maintained status. Yes, they need a visa. The only time you don't need a visa is, well, if you're from a visa-exempt country, like America, US, or anywhere else. Europe, Korea, Japan, these places. Mexico, Chile, Israel, all these. And the other point is if the person has a valid study permit or work permit, so not in the case you're asking, and they go to US and want to come back, that is the only time you don't actually need a visa to return to Canada if you're not from a visa-exempt country. Is if you have a valid work permit, right, and you're returning to, you're just going to US and coming back. Montasser Mustafa, our UCI number starts with digit only, no alphabet, but start with E. Okay, Montasser, that is perfect. That means it's a permanent file number. It is E, and that means if you've updated in the next 30 to 60 days, you can expect a decision or a pre-settlement letter to be issued. Okay, but it also depends on your other group members as well. So if they haven't submitted, it will be delayed. But if they have, all of you have, and you've submitted all the proper documents, either they will come up with more questions like your military service or something else, or updated medicals, or anything else that may have been missing, or clarifications on the forms. But otherwise you will receive a letter making a decision on an application. And typically they don't send you a letter that you're approved. So here's the trick, folks. IRCC will not send you a letter saying you're approved for RPR. Congratulations. Now you can stop acting like you have a startup. I'm just kidding. They'll actually send you a procedural fairness letter if they don't want to approve you. But if they do want to approve you, they tell you nothing. And you might get a pre-settlement letter that your PR is under process and to prepare for your new life in Canada. Okay? So it's interesting. Yeah, it's like you don't actually get an approval letter. It just goes on to process your PR, right? So if you get a pre-settlement letter, that means you're on good track. You are going to get the PR, hopefully. And if you get a procedural fairness letter, that's bad news, because that means they want to refuse you. They're giving you an opportunity to defend yourself before they cut through you. Sorry about the analogies today. Malik Shamin says 20 months since temporary file number and silence till now. When do you anticipate progress? Malik, because you probably applied around the 2020-2021 region, you've got to wait for the full 30-ish months. Okay, new groups that have applied in the last year or now will be seeing faster processing times. People in 2020, 2021, they're not going to see, like your group, you got to wait through the whole process. But this year, if you're in 2020 or 2021, a decision will be rendered for you this year. That's a fact. Badir Karim, from your experience and as a marketplace startup, is Canada a good settle there to go for? Access to investment, the right profile, fulfillment, USA, Latin America? Yeah. So there's a lot of startups, and we handle a lot of startup countries besides Canada, if you didn't know, right? We do UK, Spain, Portugal, and some of the countries which are pretty easy, like Dubai. You literally need nothing there. But when you look at it, and when I've spoken with different different people in the startup world, like actual startup owners, they feel like in Europe you can't get a lot of traction, right? Or Middle East. Getting funding, unless you're focusing on getting funding on institutional investors or private investors in the Middle East. But again, if you're in North America, you have access to that whole North American market. Venture capital, angel investors, even government grants and subsidies are more accessible here in Canada, even more than Canada, US. Plus, you can have another locations overseas and tap into the, let's say, Asian or African or Middle Eastern investors, right? Nobody said a startup only has one location. You could have multiple locations, right? But North America is good. Canada is obviously a welcoming place. There are its own challenges here, right? Everyone's very conservative getting money from angel investor, venture capital. If you don't have solid traction and revenue and potential, is difficult, and if you don't have the right connection. So the first 3 years you're gonna be in the dust. After that you'll be more established. But Canada is a good place, more so than other countries in Europe, for startup ecosystem. That's my suggestion. Okay, and US even more so. But the US immigrating as a startup, they have a startup program, but it's tricky. Muntasir Mustafa, thanks Reza, really appreciate it. But what's a pre-settlement letter, if you don't mind me asking? Is it something before we receive medical requests? The pre-settlement is literally an indicator that they're just continuing to process your PR. So that means you've passed that initial assessment and scrutiny. So it's kind of an indicator that your PR is going to be done. Like you're literally on the way to the final PR. And what it says is that they offer you pre-settlement services, like how to connect with organizations that help newcomers, how to prepare for your new life and settlement services in Canada. And they have organizational links, a whole website. You can go there. Obviously, there's a lot of free settlement services that Canadian government organizations offer. So they offer you those to start planning and researching and contacting before your final PR is processed. Bhupinder, 155,000 workers on strike. Yes. Thank you for reminding me, Bhupinder. And I kind of indicated that obviously IRCC officers are not working full-time. This means, so folks, if you don't know already, the Canadian public sector is on strike. A large union, probably one of the largest public sector unions, have combined and are currently on strike. And it's not just immigration, it's everything. Healthcare, tax departments such as the Canada Revenue Agency and the IRCC. What we expect is that there will be more delays inside the country, right, processing, than outside. So for PRs, there can be delays, but if your PR is under review, most likely it will continue. It's the people who are not yet being reviewed or under process that will be affected more. Embassies overseas will be affected less, but each embassy will be different. So be careful, be aware that there will be changes in the processing times. But we do expect that hopefully the government and the unions will come to an amicable solution and an agreement and finish the strike hopefully soon before everyone goes on summer holidays. That's our wish. But yeah, good point, Bhupinder. Thank you. Ruth Tombe, can an employer in the construction business who only has contractors working for him be eligible to apply for an LMIA? Yes, Ruth, it is possible. It is possible. Okay. It depends on the genuineness of the offer of employment. Did they try to recruit? What's the logic of them hiring a foreign worker, right? How come they want somebody on payroll now? So there's obstacles to overcome for such a case. It's not going to be an easy case, but it doesn't mean they're ineligible, the employer who has nobody on payroll but wants to hire somebody on payroll, right? On an LMIA. So it's possible, but you need to overcome a lot of scrutiny and questions by Service Canada to get an approval. Bhupinder, Manitoba PMP for my DAR will be delayed. Could be, Bhupinder, because you've got provincial and you've got federal. So it depends, because remember, the provincial is provincial employees, not federal, right? So it could be that the Manitoba PMP doesn't, the staff are still there. But then after you get the nomination and you apply for the IRCC, it could be delayed because the IRCC. But till then, again, we don't expect this strike, this public sector strike in Canada to last forever, obviously. We are hopeful that there will be a solution, a win-win solution between both sides to come and get everyone back to work and happy to go back to work, right? You don't want unhappy IRCC or CAR officers or healthcare workers or whatnot to go back to work. You want them to be happy. That's the key. Win-win. Muntasir Mustafa, thanks. Another question. Our essential member applying for work permit now, but he, a U.S. citizen, myself on business visa, were in Canada earlier to launch our products and do other activities for the startup. Okay. You can keep on continuing with the question, Muntasir. I'll just read Gustavo's. What would happen if I get a permanent residence before getting married and I can't put my partner on the application? You sponsor them, Gustavo, right? If you came through an eligible program like startup visa or an economic program, not a family sponsorship, you got your PR, you can sponsor your spouse who you just got married if you did not update your PR application in the processing. Let's say they confirm it to you, then you can't update it, right? Then you just have to sponsor your spouse, your common law partner spouse. And you can do that. They can come inside the country, and if you sponsor them, they would be eligible for a work permit if they have valid status. And if you do it from outside and they stay outside, that's fine. You wait anywhere from 8 to 12 months to get an approval, depending on the country as well, where your spouse is located. If you need help with that, of course, our team as well, we have a dedicated family sponsorship division where we help sponsorships of dependent children under the new temporary policies and common law partners and spouses, whether overseas or inside Canada. Okay, so if you do need assistance, let us know. Muntasir Mustafa, another question. Our essential member plan for work, but not okay. But now our essential member, so this is Muntasir asking, but now our essential member, part of a startup visa member, wants to apply for work permit, but validity on the LOC commitment certificate is not valid anymore. It's simple. Is it true that letters of support doesn't need to be valid to apply for work permit and can be applied anytime after the validity, unlike the PO application, which should be submitted within the LOS date, the letter of support date? No, the letter of support should be valid. You can ask your designated organization, which is the angel investor, I believe, to reissue it, right, with a new validity. So what they usually do, they ask for new settlement funds, updated records from you. They will reissue with new validities. Your essential member, you're a co-founder from US, I believe, they will apply for work permit. Perfectly fine. Gustavo Henry says, thank you very much, Reza. No problem, Gustavo. We are here to help, folks. 1 hour a week, every Thursday. We're here to help. Okay, we're here to provide general immigration information for our audience. If you email me directly and you expect me to reply, it's going to be tough because I'm hands-on with immigration. I'm not hands-off, okay? So it'll be difficult for you to find unless you book a consultation or you're an existing client. But otherwise, every week here, Thursday, you can tune into our YouTube, post your comments and questions. And if it's within my capacity and knowledge, I will answer or provide general guidance. And remember, this is not a one-on-one consultation. This is not considered a consultation because I don't represent you. I don't know your specific cases. Everyone's profile is different. And therefore, I can only provide general information on programs and general, as I call it, myth busting. You know, if you have incorrect information out there, then I can correct it here. So, Mohammed Moniruzaman. Hi, I'm from Bangladesh. Hello, Mohammed. Nice to meet you online. If I open an online clothing store in British Columbia, will it be considered a startup? I run a garment industry in Bangladesh. Which option will be suitable for me? It's a tough question, Mohammed, because it has to be innovative for a startup visa, right? Having an online e-commerce store doesn't mean it's innovative, but you could create something of an innovative package that could incorporate your garment industry or the online store as part of it. But that by itself would not fall under an innovation, right? You could also come and develop, invest in a business or start a business too in BC or anywhere else. So to answer your question, just having an online clothing store is not eligible for a startup visa program, but you may be eligible to do other activities for other entrepreneurial programs or package it or create something innovative that may be related to the garment industry or textile industry, right? So I hope I've answered your question. Muntasir, thank you, Reza. Have a great day. Thank you, Muntasir. Thanks for tuning in. And of course, we're here, folks. And if you're just tuning in, we're here every Thursday answering and giving general guidance and information about immigration programs and doing some myth busting and clarifications. That's our job here for you, 1 hour every week. No matter where you are, what country you're from, your nationality, your passport, your culture, your religion, anything, the color of your hair or whatnot, we're here for you, okay? No biases, no persecution, no judgment. That's what we're here for. So, Mohammed says, thanks. I will communicate with you later. No problem, Mohammed. Keep in touch. Hayat Khan says, thanks. Thank you, Hayat, for joining us. Ruth Tombe, thank you. Another question from Ruth. A couple in Uganda want to visit Canada. The husband is a pastor and has visited Canada before. His wife is a homemaker and they have no children. They are in their late 50s. Should they apply together or separately? What is their chance of approval? Well, the pastors, I believe religious clerics, I don't know if that would fall under that, do have access to come in with the work permit. If they do come in, they can apply together. But if it's some kind of LMIA, then it depends, Ruth, on their ties to their home country in Uganda. Do they have assets like properties, real estate, shares in companies? Do they have most of their family there? Do they have employment? So if the spouse is not employed, a homemaker. So those are factors to consider, plus travel history. So as you said, the pastor has visited Canada, maybe the spouse has visited UK or US, right? These are factors they consider, and under what program they're applying for. Is it a temporary, permanent? These are all things to consider. Bhupinder, thanks dear, I love your smile. Thanks Bhupinder. Great, good compliments for Bhupinder. Bhupinder is here every week, and I'm telling you, man, you come here, Bhupinder, you're going to come and join me on a live. If you're in the same city, hopefully, we're going to do a live together, and then you can talk on behalf of applicants overseas, right? Because unless you have gone through the immigration process yourself, you will not know what it is like, right? What are the challenges, the frustrations, the ups and downs, right? It's like a movie. You know, you've got the beginning, the middle, the end. And I hope it doesn't disappoint you, because every successful immigration application should have a happy ending, Hollywood style, right? But not fake, the real thing, right? That's why we're here. Folks, if there's no more questions, we will be coming back later. Send us some hearts, folks. I just sent myself a heart. I don't know if I'll see it. But give us some likes, give us some hearts. We're here answering questions. We've got our webinar next week, the Startup Visa webinar with a designated organization rep who represents the angel investor, venture cap, and incubator group, with a business consultant and us talking about Startup Visa, the admission, what to look for, the key mistakes. So tune in next week. It'll be before this live. It'll be at 8:30 a.m. North America, Eastern Standard Time, local time in Toronto. So you can tune into that. And then, of course, we'll have our regular live. Thanks for joining us, folks. We will be signing off today. I appreciate everyone joining. See you next Thursday for our Startup Visa webinar and the following live. Take care, folks. Have a good one. Thanks for joining us. Bhupinder, Ruth, Muntasser, Mohammed, Hayat Khan, Gustavo. Who else was there? Badir, Karim, Malik. Thank you, Sabri7. Thank you. I hope I've covered everyone. Thanks again. And Leonard Banabane and Julie Minka. And if you haven't, Julie, there you go. Can a Romanian citizen get an open work permit because he is married to a Canadian citizen? That's an interesting one. Well, Julie, it's only if the spouse who is being sponsored, the Romanian, is inside the country with valid status and has been sponsored for family sponsorship, like for PR through spousal sponsorship. If yes, they can be eligible for a work permit from inside Canada. And usually now within 3 months, they can get a work permit. After applying, or at the same time of applying for the PR, they apply for the work permit, the spousal work permit. Other than that, the person cannot just receive a work permit because they're married to a Canadian citizen if they're not being sponsored for PR. So they would have to do something else, perhaps, maybe studying or get a job, right? Ruth Thomas says, thanks, Rez, you do a great job. God bless you. Thanks, Ruth. If you have any specific questions, if you need our help on anything, let us know. Our office is here to help. Rez says, hi, I'm from Iran. Is it difficult to get funding from angel investors with no revenue and just with an MVP? Thanks for your time. Rez, so clarification, great question, Rez. I don't know if you're Reza or Rez. Angel investors and venture capital have to commit to invest to a startup that they endorse or issue a letter of support for. They will never pay you until you receive your PR, which could take 2 years, and you meet specific milestones. So getting funding, very difficult as a non-Canadian and who doesn't have the PR yet and doesn't meet the key milestones. When you're here, you have a better chance. But right now, if you know what's going on in the tech world, valuations are 1/10, purses are being tightened up, very difficult to get tech funding. It's a bloodbath out there. If you're not in the tech world, you should know. So I wouldn't count on it, Rez. This is, perhaps you could come, do the immigration, and then later on look for investors. But investors are difficult. Usually it's easier to get grants and subsidies from the Canadian government when you're inside Canada. Haid Khan says, God bless you too. Suleiman Qureshi, hi, Mr. Suleiman Qureshi, how are you? I believe you are in touch with our office. Am I wrong or am I right? Because I think there was some parts that we were helping with, and I believe you were in touch with Olive. Correct? Let me know because I was discussing your case yesterday in our office. So, Julie, okay, thank you so much. Muntasir Mustafa, thanks. It was a great session. You're a good person. I hope so. No, I'm just kidding. It doesn't matter if I'm a good person. You've got to have an IRCC officer who reviews a file to be a good person and not to be a racist or biased person. That's what you need. You don't need me. You need a good IRCC officer. Okay? Thanks, folks. And Mr. Suleiman, keep in touch. I believe you are in touch with our office. And we will see everyone next Thursday for another round of exciting Canadian immigration, myth-busting, clarifications, general guidance, and immigration information on business, B2B, LMI, startup visa, entrepreneurial, PNP, skilled worker, and so forth. Okay? Since I don't see any more questions or comments, I'm going to be signing off now. Finally, I think I've signed off 3 times so far before we've seen new questions. Okay? But because there's a lag, that's why I sometimes sign off and then I see new questions. Anyways, I talked too much. Thank you very much, folks. We're out of here. Take care. See you next Thursday.